Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome to Books My Quiet Friends. My name's Sydney and today I'm here with another review for you guys. I wasn't really planning on doing a video, but I ended up finishing a book today, so this is kind of late and thrown together. Sorry if it's not very coherent, but here we go. Today I'll be reviewing Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerri Maniscalco. So this is a book that came out in 2016. It's been raved about by a few booktubers, including Sasha at A Book Utopia. So this book came out in 2016, like I mentioned. I listened to it on audiobook, so it was kind of a different experience than some other people have had. It's historical fiction, mystery, young adult, and it is the first in a series. This book takes place during the time where Jack the Ripper is murdering women in London. We follow our main character Audrey, who is following a career that is mostly done by men in forensic sciences. She does this in secret as she has a title and wealth and she does not want to corrupt her family name. Throughout her work, she begins to develop an interest in finding the murderer, and through help in the city, she begins to investigate further who Jack the Ripper might be. I gave this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this book, and it's kind of rare for me to pick up an audiobook and it's not just filler. I was really expecting to go into this book and just kind of finding a way to fill my time while I'm at the gym or while I'm driving or doing other like household things, but it became so much more than that. And first I want to mention, if you are kind of iffy about audiobooks, I understand that. Sometimes the narrators kind of make or break a book. But for me, this narrator for Stalking Jack the Ripper, I can't remember her name, I had it somewhere, but I lost the paper that I wrote it down on, was amazing. She had a perfect accent for the storyline, she did amazing voices, and it wasn't too over the top, but she still kept me drawn into the story without me just kind of like thinking over top of what she was saying, if that makes sense. My mind didn't really wander. I also wanted to mention that I thought that the characters in this book were very progressive for it being the time that it was. This takes place in the late 1800s, I think. Ooh, we're gonna go with that. And it did like have a female character who was very progressive for her time. She was trying to work, and she was trying to work in a field that was predominantly male. I also think that the author did a very good job of showing how women were treated without making it like crazy smashing you in the face with it, like making you feel uncomfortable about it. So that was another perk that I thought that the author did quite well. If you're someone who's into something that's 100% historically accurate, this might not be the book for you. As Jack the Ripper was never caught, the author kind of took some leeway and found some ways to make it an interesting read as a historical fiction rather than making it 100% accurate. There is an author's note at the back where she kind of speaks about why she changed what she changed and why she did it. Finally, I just wanted to mention that this book was a great read for me. It's definitely one of my top reads this year. It's different than anything else I've read, and I plan to continue the series when the next book comes out in September. I'm kind of hoping that my online library will get an audiobook of it, so here's hoping that I can listen to it and enjoy the narrator again. But if not, I plan to pick up a physical copy of this book and then possibly a physical copy of the next book if I like it just as much. So, as you might have noticed if you watch reviews here, this is where things get a little spoilery, so if you are not interested in hearing spoilers or my unfiltered thoughts, click away. It was nice seeing you. Thanks for watching the first half. We'll see you around. Alright, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, spoilers. I really thought that this book was something that I just was not anticipating. I usually think that highly hyped books are going to let me down, but this one did not let me down at all. There were a lot of twists and turns. Most of the book I didn't really know who Jack was. I wasn't really sure what was happening or who it was, or could it be this person or this person. I definitely suspected a lot of different people a lot of different times. But here are some of my thoughts based on the characters. So I think that Audrey is a very kick-ass character to read from, especially coming from the 1800s. Like a woman wearing riding gear by the end of the book and cutting up bodies. I thought that was cool. I also think that the author did such an interesting job with narrating how gruesome it was to investigate a corpse and to do an autopsy, but she also did it in a way that was kind of beautiful, if that makes sense. Like if you've read this, you understand what I'm saying. I think her writing was very interesting and beautiful. The one thing that I was kind of disappointed in was how much the main character kind of relied on Thomas to an extent. I think that her constant thoughts about him, while they were sweet, were also kind of not what I had anticipated when he first showed up in the book, for sure. That being said, I can't wait to follow her adventures and her voice and see where her life is going to go after the tragedy at the end of this book. Thomas I really liked. I liked his flirting attempts. I liked the way he was kind of out there and willing to just flirt in public, which was something that probably was not done back then very often. And I also appreciated the fact that he worked hard to get where he was. The one thing that I didn't like about him was his know-it-all attitude, and while he did know a lot of things, while he could deduce a lot of things from people around him, I think that sometimes it was a little over the top how know-it-all he was, and it bothered me. It was very irksome. But I am interested to see how he does following Audrey through her next book, as it is something about Dracula, summoning Prince Dracula, something like that, at their next destination. The next character I want to talk about is Nathaniel. So Nathaniel is Jack the Ripper. If you did not know, now you know. I think that he was interesting for sure. I was kind of suspicious at him from the start, and then as the story went on, so many other suspicious things were happening that I kind of started to dim my suspicions of him. But after I realized that the author wasn't really placing any kind of suspicion on him, I figured it must be him, because that way it would be a total shock to Audrey, our main character. What I did not see at all coming was the use for the organs that he was taking. I did not think that he was going to use them to try and resurrect the dead. I definitely thought he was going to do a transplant and try and save lives, and while that was crazy, the things that he was doing was even crazier. So I'm sorry that he died, but at the same time, what made his brain take such a strange route, and when did he decide that I'm gonna bring back my mom? That's it, I'm gonna bring her back. I can do that. And why did he decide that? I also wonder about his life beforehand. I would really be interested in a prequel story about his kind of dark finding turning into Dr. Frankenstein. Now you guys are gonna have to forgive me, but because it was an audiobook, I sometimes forget the names of side characters. So I think it was Uncle Jonathan, but the forensic scientist that we first see, who kind of goes a little crazy while he's in Bedlam. I think he was a very interesting main character to read from, and the fact that he let his niece at a time like this be a part of forensic sciences and exploring a corpse was amazing. At the same time, I do wonder about his past and how he turned so mad, but then you kind of realize that science is his whole life, his family, his love, his life. He's given up a lot for science, and he needs it. It's his one desire, maybe even obsession, we could say, but I don't think he would be capable of killing somebody. Let's talk about Audrey's father. So he's obviously a germaphobe who has dealt with addiction for a long period of time, and while that addiction wasn't helped by Nathaniel, he had a lot of problems. I was surprised by the end of the book that he was so accepting of her and her choices and was willing to send her away to a school where she could practice these things. But at the same time, she is his only child left and his only family left, his direct near family. So I think maybe that Nathaniel's death helped him realize that he couldn't just keep her in a cage all the time, and maybe if it comes back after you let it go, it's meant to be. Isn't that a saying? Something like that. But I hope that his life gets better and maybe he starts working with Uncle Jonathan again. Who knows what will happen. Blackburn is an interesting side character as well. To see someone who's so, I don't know, just kind of bland when they spoke in the audiobook anyways, to see them interested in somebody like Audrey was very strange to me. So I wonder about his past, and was his interest purely based on her looks? When did he become interested in her, and why and how? All those fun things. I am thrilled to have read this book, and I hope that you guys choose to pick it up. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good weekend. Bye!